first color I'm going to start with today is called The More The Merrier. This is a nice bright green color. It's kind of like a Shrek green. It's pretty similar to Who the Shrek Are You by OPI, but it's a little bit less swampy. It's a little bit brighter. This came out in, I think it was the same collection as in the Cabana. This was a resort color in 2011, I want to say, or 2012. And this was like another nice bright blue and green release from Essie after their previous, actually, you know, this might have been the year after that. But anyway, back in like 2010, Essie released a resort collection that had Turquoise and Caicos in it, for example. And then a year after that, they did another nice, like, crazy bright green and blue, like, turquoisey sort of themed resort collection. And then they had a collection with this one in it. So it was like kind of the beginning of Essie doing more bright colors that weren't necessarily like pink and red and peach and stuff. So yeah, this is The More The Merrier. The More The Merrier. In the first coat, it's not entirely opaque, but it does have a nice sort of glassy finish to it. So yeah, that's the first coat. I'm going to go in now with the second coat of The More The Merrier, and this does get opaque in 2 coats, but it does have one of those formulas that you don't want to play around with too much on the nail, or it'll start to go patchy. On the second coat, it does get much more opaque and much more saturated and much more green. So yeah, that is the second coat of The More The Merrier. So here's what it looks like up close. I think I'm going to destash this one because I did keep the Shrek color from OPI, and I don't need that many of this sort of tone of green, so this is going to get destashed. The next color is called First Timer, and this was another resort collection. I just realized that they probably don't do resort collections. Like, I don't think they call them resort collections anymore. I think they just call them summer collections. But for Essie, it was like resort collection for a while. But this was another summer resort collection. I think this one was the one that came out the year after Turquoise and Caicos did. And this is a bright green color. It's not quite a turquoise. It's got a little bit more of a green tone to it than a turquoise, in my opinion, would have. But it's one of those like really vintage like car colors, or like vintage like refrigerator colors. This one is actually fairly opaque in 1 coat. It goes on pretty smooth as well. I am going to do a second coat just to get it fully opaque, because you can see in some parts it is a little bit patchy, but this one was like so close to being a 1 coat nail polish. So yeah, that's the first coat of First Timer. I'm going to go in now with the second coat of First Timer, and this like smooths out the color fully and it gets fully opaque in 2 coats. This one has a little bit of a thicker formula, so you don't want to use too much polish when you paint your nails with this one if you decide to pick it up. But it is pretty easy to work with, so you can see how nicely it went on in that second coat and how like evenly it leveled itself out. So yeah, this one is First Timer by Essie. So here's what it looks like up close. I think I'm going to keep this one for now and see how much I use it over the next probably 6 months, and then decide to just destash from there. It has a really nice formula, and it's a pretty unique color that's like sort of like a vintagey green, so that one I am going to keep. The next color is called So Psyched, and this is a it's like an army green with a tiny bit of shimmer running through it. I actually really like this color. However, I'm probably going to destash it because I kept that army green from Zoya. But I'll show you what it looks like anyway. This is again, it's an army green. It's got a lot of like a gray tone to it. It's pretty even in the first coat. It has a little bit more of that sort of glassy finish rather than a straight up cream, but it does apply very similarly to a cream. So that's the first coat of So Psyched. I'm going to go in now with the second coat of So Psyched, and this does get fully opaque in 2 coats, and it dries again really nice and shiny, and it's really easy to work with. I feel like it gets a little bit more saturated in that second coat, like it's not as gray as the first coat looks, and that green tone comes out a little bit more. This is a really nice fall color for anyone that wants something in the fall that's not necessarily like a jewel tone or like on the lines of like a dark brown or purple or something like that. So yeah, that is So Psyched. So this is what it looks like up close. Again, I think I am going to destash this one because I kept the army green that I have from Zoya. So this is going to get destashed. The next color is called Armed and Ready, and this is another army green color. It has a really, really slight gold shimmer running through it as well, one of those sort of like secret shimmers, which makes this one look a little bit more brown toned than So Psyched did. It's also just like a shade darker. This goes on fairly opaque in the first coat. It's not totally opaque, it's a little bit sheer, so I will do a second coat, but it glides on pretty smooth. So yeah. That is the first coat of Armed and Ready. I'm going to go in now with the second coat of Armed and Ready, and this gets a little bit darker in the second coat. The gray tone comes out a little bit more, and it does get fully opaque. That shimmer really is sort of like secret shimmer, so you don't really see it all that much at all on the nail, even though you see it pretty clearly in the bottle. So yeah, this is the second coat of Armed and Ready. So this is what Armed and Ready looks like up close. Again, the gold shimmer really doesn't come out at all, so it ends up being like a slightly green toned gray color. I am going to destash this one because I have a couple of grays that I have kept from other brands. So yeah, that is Armed and Ready. The next color is called Absolutely Sure, and this is a really light off-white color. It has a really slight seafoam green tint to it. I want to say this was like a winter color, I think, or maybe a spring color. And this was, I want to say, like 2012 or 2013. This has sort of that typical white or off-white sheer formula. It's very, very sheer in that first coat. So you have to build it up quite a bit to get it fully opaque. So that is the first coat of Absolutely Sure. I'm going to go in now with the second coat of Absolutely Sure. And this isn't quite opaque in two coats, so I will have to do a third coat, but you can see that it adds quite a bit of color to the first coat. Like, you can start to see what it's going to look like on the nail, but it is pretty streaky and pretty patchy even in that second coat. So that is the second coat. I'm going to go in now with the third coat of Absolutely Sure, and this gets pretty much fully opaque in three coats. You can see that it is still a little bit patchy, so not the greatest formula, but this is like sort of its full color potential. It's like you can see the seafoam really well, and you can see like the milkiness of what it looks like on the nail. So that is 3 coats of Absolutely Sure. So this one I am going to destash. The formula is not the greatest, and I don't actually wear this sort of off-white color very much anymore either, so this is going to get destashed. I'm going to go in now with the next color, which is called Mint Candy Apple. This is actually one of the first Essies that I ever purchased, as well as one of the first mint colors I ever purchased. I feel like when I first started getting into nail polish around 2009, this was still like one of the top colors that people wanted overall in like any brand. It was one of the most talked about colors, especially because it was like a minty color. In the first coat, it's a little bit patchy. I also think it's just because my bottle is a little bit on the older side. Like, it's from 2009, so it's on the older side. So it's gotten a little bit more sticky, so it's a little bit harder to work with. I haven't thinned it out or anything yet because it's actually lasted quite a long time without me having to fiddle with it. But yeah, it's a really beautiful mint color. Again, one of those sort of vintage car or like vintage fridge type of colors. It's a really pretty minty color. So that's the first coat of Mint Candy Apple. I'm going to go in now with the second coat of Mint Candy Apple, and this gets fully opaque in 2 coats. Again, my bottle has gotten a little bit thick, so it's gotten, like, I am very used to using my bottle at this point. Like, I know that I have to do a sort of thicker second coat, whereas I do a slightly thinner first coat, just so that the polish doesn't get too, like, gloopy or anything, or hard to use. And again, I just haven't thinned mine out in any sense. So I don't actually know how the formula is on a new bottle of Mint Candy Apple. I do use this one quite a bit, which is why it's gotten a little bit thick, and I've gotten a lot of use out of it. So this is kind of like my go-to minty color whenever I want something bright on my nails. So this one I am gonna keep. I get, again, quite a bit of use out of this one. It's one of my go-to like bright pastel type of colors. So that is Mint Candy Apple. The next color is called Turquoise Caicos, and this is the one that I've been talking about basically this whole video and pretty much through all of my Essie videos about how in 2010 they released a resort collection, and this was like the outstanding color for me from that collection. It was a 4-piece collection, but this one, and it had this one and Lapis of Luxury, which was a blue tone, and then they had a pink one and a sort of beigey color. And this one was my favorite. It is very sheer on the first coat. It's got almost like a jelly finish, but it's a little bit more opaque than a jelly, and it is a beautiful like ocean turquoise color. So that's the first coat. I'm going to go in with the second coat of Turquoise Caicos, and this adds a little bit more color to the nail, but it doesn't get fully opaque, so I will do a third coat. But again, it just looks so oceany and just beachy and amazing, and I really love this color. So yeah, that is the second coat of Turquoise Caicos. So I'm going to go in now with the third coat of Turquoise Caicos, and this does get fully opaque in 3 coats. And it's still pretty easy to work with even though you do that third coat. It doesn't drag or anything. So yeah, that is 3 coats of Turquoise Caicos. So this is what it looks like up close. I am going to keep this one. I get quite a lot of use out of this one as well. The next color is called Nautical, which was actually the name of the collection that this one came out in. I want to say it was another summer color. This is a really bright teal color with a shimmer running through it. I actually don't wear this one very often. I bought it because it was like the teal of that collection, and this was a collection that was kind of towards the end of the phase of me wanting to get like every nail polish ever. I at that point felt like I needed to get something from the collection Nautical, and this was the one that I felt like I needed to buy, just because at that point I felt like I needed to buy it not just because I wanted to, because I felt like I needed to do it for this channel. Like, a weird thing happens when you're on YouTube and you end up like, it's so consumer based, you know, like especially beauty channels, it's so based off of stuff that you buy and stuff that you share and like reviewing product, that I just felt like when I was buying polishes at this time of me making videos that I had to buy something because I had to make a video, because I had to like acknowledge the fact that Essie came out with another collection. And that was sort of the end. I bought this polish sort of at the end of that phase. Like I remember buying the polish and thinking it was pretty, but never really using it. And I just, that was sort of the place where I realized that I needed to stop buying stuff just because I was justifying purchases to make videos and just justifying stuff to buy them when I never really used them. So it is a really pretty color. It's got an okay formula. The first coat you can see is pretty sheer. I will have to do a second coat, but this isn't a polish that I necessarily bought because I actually really wanted it. I'm going to go in now with the second coat of Nautical, and this does get fully opaque in 2 coats. The color gets a little bit brighter, a little bit more saturated. The shimmer gets a little bit more apparent, but it's not like an obvious shimmer. It's one of those sort of slightly glass fleck, sort of pearly shimmers. So yeah, that's the second coat of Nautical. So this is what it looks like up close. This is, again, something that I haven't really worn very often, and I didn't necessarily buy because I wanted it, so I am going to destash it. It is a pretty color, though. I just have a lot of teals, and this one isn't necessarily one that jumps out at me as something that I want to keep. The next color is called Go Overboard, and this is a darker sort of teal color. This is also in a cream finish. Not entirely sure what this collection came, or what this one came in, which collection it came in. It might be the same like Nautical collection because it's got that obviously nautical theme. So my battery just died, but that's what the first coat looks like. It actually goes on pretty smooth. It goes on pretty dark as well, and it's got a little bit more of a cream formula than that sort of glassy formula that some of these Essie creams have had. So yeah, that's the first coat. You can see it's actually almost completely opaque. I will do a second coat because that first coat on this nail is a little bit patchy. So that is the first coat. I'm going to go in now with the second coat, and this gets fully opaque in 2 coats. It was, again, pretty much almost opaque in one coat. The second coat does even out any sparse spots if you do thinner coats though. So that is the second coat. So this is what Go Overboard looks like up close. I am going to destash this one because again I have kept a couple of darker teals from OPI, so this one is just going to get destashed. The last color I have to show you guys today is called In the Cabana. This is one that actually did come out the year after Turquoise and Caicos. This is the first one that I saw from that resort collection, and I knew I wanted to purchase it because Turquoise and Caicos was such a success for me. This is definitely a solid cream that is a sort of turquoisey color. It's a little bit more blue than a standard turquoise. And this one, I remember I purchased it and immediately went and got my nails done with this color. I loved it. It was the perfect summer color. That summer, I think I wore this on my toes like the entire summer. It's got a pretty good formula as well. It's pretty opaque in one coat to the point where if I did a thicker coat, I probably could get it fully opaque in one coat, but I will do 2 coats for this video. I'm going to go in with the second coat of In the Cabana, and it gets fully opaque in 2 coats. And yeah, it gets a little bit brighter, it gets a little bit more saturated. This is another color that I get a lot of use out of, especially on my toes. So yeah, that is In the Cabana. So this is what In the Cabana looks like up close. Really, really pretty. Again, I get a lot of use out of this one, so I am going to keep this one in my stash. So these are the 4 that I'm keeping this time around. You can kind of tell which ones I like to keep or which ones I like out of Essie. If you guys like this video, if you could give it a thumbs up, that would totally make my day. If you could also subscribe, that would also totally make my day. I do a Swatch My Stash video every Saturday, barring any sort of family things or holidays. I tend to take those weekends off, but most of the time, pretty much every weekend, I do a Swatch My Stash video, and I'm going 10 polishes at a time through all of my nail polishes. After I finish Essie, you guys can choose, but I have a couple of Orly, I have a couple of Nubar, I have some Color Club, and then I have a ton of like Julep, and then I have a ton of drugstore, just like random drugstore, so I could do a combined drugstore video, which would have like Maybelline, I think I have some Revlon, CoverGirl, stuff like that, and then some like random polishes, like I have a Gap nail polish that I can stick in that like random video, but you guys can choose what brand to do next. I think I'm actually going to keep all of my indies and high-ends after I'm done with sort of the mid-range colors, which include drugstore. So yeah, again, the options are Orly, Color Club, Nubar, Julep, although Julep is a high-end brand, I just have the Julep with my drugstore polishes, but we could do Julep or drugstore, and then after I'm done with those, then I'm going to move on to like high-end polishes, which include Rescue Beauty Lounge, which I'm probably going to keep all my Rescue Beauty Lounge colors because I did PR for them, and it's sort of like personal reasons I didn't keep them because it was kind of like a big step in my like nail polish career business. But anyway, I have Rescue Beauty Lounge, I have Chanel, I have some NARS, and then I can do all of my indies after that. So let me know what you guys want to see after I do my Essies. Leave them in the comments down below. Otherwise, I hope you guys are doing well, and I will see you guys soon.